Hello, welcome to episode 0 of Public Agent is in. CFEngine has this concept of an agent, as Nick is aware. We're all wearing our t-shirts with the picture of an agent. Autonomous
Not
agents.
Planned though.
What?
It was not organized.
Not organized. I almost wore a Love Garden t-shirt. It's a really great record store here in Lawrence, Kansas, but I decided to go with CFEngine after all. So this is let's see if I can get rid of the chat stuff here that I had. So debugging CFEngine policy with Policy Analyzer is the subject of today's
talk.
Who are you? Well, I am Craig Comstock. I am a developer on CFEngine. I've worked at Northern Tech, aka CFEngine, for maybe almost 4 years now. I work on a lot of different things, but maybe primarily on database stuff, reviewing Mission Portal Web UI kind of code, and working on tests and testing and things like that. Also policy language and support. That's what I work on. And Mr. Person who asked me who I am, who are you?
I'm Nick Anderson. I have been working at CFEngine Northern Tech for 8 years, I think now. I've been using CFEngine for a very long time. I'm not very good at math. It's like well over 15 years now. I work on many different things, but primarily I like to eat policy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I usually work with people on architecting their policy.
I guess that's my cue. My name is Cody Valle. I am relatively newer to the CFEngine team, and I'm on the non-technical side. So working with existing customers and new customers, more on the sales and marketing side of things.
All right. What are we talking about today, Craig?
We're talking about debugging CFEngine policy with Policy Analyzer. So one of the things I started to do a little while ago was dog food our product. So policy and Mission Portal, which is our web UI for looking at your enterprise, all the hosts and everything. And so in developing policy, I started to try to eat policy. So I was doing all kinds of things like managing Git repos and just personal things, right? Like my home directory, all kinds of stuff. So one of the things I thought about when I was thinking about how I could develop and how I could develop easier is typically what I would do is there are many ways to deal with CFEngine. You could just have like a single file and run CFEngine on that single file and have it do things. You can have master files, which brings libraries and things like that. You can even have CFEngine pull policy from a source code repository. And so I started to do all that stuff. I had this box at home that's running a Git server, which coincidentally also had my master files in there. But it also had some things like work journal. I recently migrated from Emacs org mode to a kind of command line based, simple file kind of journaling system that I wrote myself for fun. And so I was thinking about sharing passwords. So we use Password Store, this software here, and I also use it for myself. So I wanted to add a bare repository on my Git server. And I thought, well, this would be a good example of going through this process of developing policy and debugging policy. In working with Nick, I think he mentioned this maybe, and I kind of took it on of having this strategy of writing policy, developing policy, which is to like inventory what you have, classify where you want these things to live or where you want things to be changed and such. And then after that, promise actually change things. So I'm just going to kind of look through this blog a little bit. So I set up we have a Vagrant environment you can download, which is pretty easy to just get up and running. So I use that. I'm going to skip over a lot of these details, and I already have it kind of set up, and it's not quite as interesting. So Policy Analyzer is a really cool tool that we added a little while ago, which shows you your entire policy in a little tree structure. And then it can show you which promises are not kept. You can also optionally add in which promises are kept and repaired. And then you can kind of dig through and see which hosts things are on, like which hosts are not kept for this particular promise. And you can actually see the code, and it highlights the lines in the code. So I've got this host 001 is the generic number that we have for an agent host, a client host, not the policy server, not the hub. And this is the one that I'm going to say is my Git server. So the first thing I did was set up an inventory for this. So the reason I'm using Policy Analyzer is because it makes it a lot easier for me to visualize what's happening throughout like all the hosts. Like I've just got 2 hosts here, but you know, if you have 100,000 million hosts or something like that, it would be very hard without Mission Portal and without Policy Analyzer to get a grasp of where things are happening, how, like where promises are kept or not kept, repaired, that kind of thing. So that's why.
How were you doing this before you started using Policy Analyzer for this?
Yeah. So, well, so there was, so I would have to maybe do some agent runs on a host, add some debugging logging or something like that to try to figure out what's happening, where it's happening, things like that. So I'd have to actually like SSH into hosts and whatnot. I could also look at some reports in Mission Portal, but that ends up, you know, if you have more than a couple of hosts, you can end up with a whole bunch of data. So it's really could be difficult to see. So what is that, Nick? That's like changes, maybe, isn't it?
I'll show you promises repaired.
Yeah. So like right now I'm kind of clean right here, but this would be a way to do it. And I know that several people do use this method actually. And actually when I showed them Policy Analyzer, that was, oh, that's really helpful, because what happens is that you'll end up with a report that's, you know, ideally 0 like this, but realistically you'll end up with, you know, maybe 10s, 20s, 100s even, and then that's hard to kind of see. So Policy Analyzer makes that easier by structuring the data, and then you'll get a little report down here, which we'll get to see some problems down there in a second. So I see there's a chat. Oh, right. If you have any questions, right, it's chat. Yeah, so that's kind of why I'm using Policy Analyzer to do this work, and I think it's really helpful. I'm looking forward to the future where we can do even more cool integrations and like, you know, maybe like just from the Mission Portal UI or something, like run a single bundle that I'm interested in, something like that. But for now, let's see. So I've got some policy. So the way I set this up, I'll show over here in Mission Portal, just in case anybody isn't familiar. I've got version control set up. So I'm using master files out of GitHub with a particular branch. And then I used a Git token to authenticate. So whenever I make a change and push a change to my Git repo, the hub will pull that change, and then the client that hosts 0001 will pull it from the hub. So then the policy gets set around everywhere and everybody's got the latest stuff. So I'm going to go over to, let's see. So on my host 001, let's see what I've got here. All right, so right now I've got the directories already set up. So the goal here with my policy is to get these bare repository directories set up. And right now on my host 001, I've already done this. So I've got these directories there. So that's why I've got 0 not kept promises. So this is some more stuff about, so this is the policy that I'm working with, and I'll show you in Visual Studio Code. And I've got this Visual Studio Code set up so I can submit changes via Git. So I can remove those directories entirely And then within a few moments, I can see that there could be some not kept promises. And I'm speeding up the process of CFEngine slightly. Typically, you might have to wait like 5 to 10 minutes to see updates and reports and things like that. But I'm just kind of poking it myself. So we'll take a look at that. And then in a moment, I should have. And of course, I am beholden to the live demo daemons, just like anybody else. So we'll see what happens. It's always exciting. See, this would be much more fun if everybody could talk. How's your day?
Wet.
Wet, yeah. Oh man, I wish I had a picture of the setup that I made. We're gonna get a whole bunch of our land reshaped pretty soon. And so the guy that's going to do the reshaping said, hey, you should cover up all the land with like tarps and metal and whatever you got, boards, anything. And so I actually had to set up this huge stovepipe thing that's like 10 feet long to get the water away from my house. It's really quite wild. And yes, it's been raining.
Craig, can you show us how you were speeding up CFEngine in the background?
I can. I might have to. Oh yeah, exactly. So basically, I might have to reshare my screen or something, or be trickier. I'll be trickier. I'll show you by showing it to you in Visual Studio Code. Here we go. So if I make a new file, yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm using Vagrant. And so what I'm doing is I'm basically just running an update run of the policy, which is this. Can you see my screen, Nick,
Yes.
Cody? Okay, great. And so I'm doing that. So that pulls down the policy and updates it from GitHub to master files and from master files to inputs. So then it's ready to be used. Here, I do CF run agent and I hail the other host 001 client so that it updates and runs a policy run. And then these commands are ways of getting the reporting in to the system, which Policy Analyzer uses reporting data. And then this is like some more agent runs on the hub. This is FUD over here. And like this is double FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So just try to get it to run a little faster. So let's check over here. It's still not breaking. Okay, well, this is the way. So I will show you here. I've got my policy in here, this get server. Oh, see, now this is interesting. This says host 001. This is a class for the host. And I think I may have made the classic mistake of not pushing the code. Possibly, because here you see my copy doesn't have that. And then I'll run my little refresh script again. And when I run it, I believe I should get that code. And then maybe when I reload this, we can look at the code again and see it. It is kind of an interesting little check to make sure that you've got the right code. There is actually some things that are pretty interesting where if you have multiple hosts, there's some data down in this table that when the table shows up down here in Policy Analyzer, it will show you if the policy on a particular host is kind of the same version as other hosts. So let me do this again. Well, it should be there. Let me check one more time. This is exciting. This didn't happen to me multiple times before when I did this. let me check something here. I'm going to check the copy that's local. I'm not sharing my console screen, so sorry about that. Yeah, so for some reason, the local copy is not correct. I don't know why.
Do you have like a syntax error maybe in your policy? If you go to the dashboard.
This is something you mentioned that we try, which is to introduce a syntax error. Maybe we're doing it now. Well, and actually, the Visual Studio Code, it's not going to tell me if something's wrong. Like it does do highlighting.
Yeah, but it doesn't have CFEngine syntax checking.
Yeah, so that's not a valid promise type or anything, and I guess it's white and not yellow, but then again, meta is white and not yellow. So yeah. Yeah, I guess if I did a terminal
on the main dashboard.
Yeah, on the main dashboard, yes.
Scroll down.
Scroll down to.
There was scroll up. There's the policy compliance. It's green now.
Policy compliance, yeah, it's green, right?
So it thinks that it's deploying the latest version that is available. Fine.
Right.
Maybe you want to check the policy update or the VCS log of the deployments.
The VCS log. Oh, let's see.
CFEngine outputs DC scripts.log on the hub.
Right. Okay. Let me look at.
You also have like the policy. Yeah, I guess the policy it's cached here isn't what you were showing in your
Yeah, so I'm looking at master files and inputs, and it seems like okay. So I guess the next thing to do maybe is to.
Are you pushing to the right branch?
Exactly. That's what I'm going to check. Master files, and then this is this one. Okay, so let's look in services. Oh, yeah, for some reason, maybe it's not getting pushed. Look at that.
Hey.
It's not getting pushed. Come on, Visual Studio Code. You should be telling me what's up. Okay, so let's look over here. Services, get server. It's like that. So then, oh, I know why.
The last push was 18 hours ago?
No, it's because, yeah, I switched branches.
Did you switch branches?
Yeah, well, I was fixing something yesterday. Agent is in. Okay, there we go. Now we're happy. Okay, so now fix that. This is wow, that was amazing. Good debugging. Good debugging.
Thanks, Pablo.
Yes, Pablo, thank you. Details are often good. Pablo, you were my rubber ducky, and I really appreciate that. Yes, exactly. Okay, so now, awesome, reset. Thanks, Pablo. Okay, boink. And then I can push. And then at this point, everything will truly be awesome. Okay, now I'll do my refresh. And now everything will be awesome. All right. So how long did we budget for this? Episode 0? Half an hour. It's amazing. So we're in the Q&A section already. We're just getting used to this stuff here, so this is all good. Okay, so over here, I'll do a reload and hopefully, yay, see, we got red. This is amazing. Okay, so this tells me there's 6 not kept promises. And then down here, we can see what those not kept promises are. Now, this is kind of interesting.
So where are these promises not being kept?
Right. Okay, so it's a little hidden right here. This is kind of an overview. Now, if I had the same promise like this, get this .files.get on more than one server, more than one host, then this frequency number would go up. But I can click on the policy file thing here, and it will tell me all of them are on hub, not host.
Gotcha.
And that's because host 001 has these directories. This is kind of getting into the classify section of things, right? So I don't want these directories on the hub, but my policy doesn't say anything about that. So that was actually the next thing I was going to do, which is going to say, okay, host 001. Now, Nick, maybe you can explain, so this is a class guard on this auto run tag.
Right.
So that is making it so that this is the thing that makes services auto run our kind of what you call it, like a framework to run your own services operate, is having this tag present will make it operate on that host. So when I put this host 001 class guard here, that makes it only run on host 001.
Yep.
Host 001. Did I explain that correctly? Okay. So then I'll push that and do the refresh. I won't sing the rest of that. It's probably trademarked. Okay, and now reload. And it's still not a little better. So maybe we'll just give it another little kick. I did push this time, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I'll just make sure that the policy that I think is there is actually there. Git. It is. Okay. And there's no syntax errors. And so still, this is hub. And you can see here that it kind of highlights the spots where the problem is. One interesting thing about the overview here is that it kind of gives you a stack trace of sorts. Like if I go down here, oh, see, now I fixed it. Okay. Yeah. So, but we could kind of go back to now. So I went up here and I checked kept, right? So now I can see all the kept promises. And what I was going to mention is that like you can kind of see a stack trace of like lib. Oh, it's not there. So I guess if it's broken, it'll show it. What I was going to say is like when you have a not kept promise, like in Git server policy, it'll also show you that this framework area services called that bundle, and that promise of calling the bundle is also going to be not kept.
You said those directories already exist on host 001.
Yes, they do.
Remove one of them.
Okay, I will remove one. Git passwords. So I'll remove the passwords one. Let's see. Did we get any, since we're kind of theoretically running out of our time, are there any other questions?
There's no new questions yet.
Okay, good enough. So like if anybody has any things they'd like to ask or anything like that, feel free to go ahead and pipe up now. Let's see if I can get this to reload here. Okay, so I'll reload this. Okay, good. Yeah, so this is the stack trace kind of thing I was talking about. So this one, the lib auto run, is going to use bundle for a whole bunch of whichever services bundles you have added. In this case, it's this Git server bundle.
Right. So what's happening here in the auto run policy is all of those policies where you have a meta promise where you're promising tags that include auto run, those are being discovered by that bundles matching promise right there. So we find all the bundles that are tagged for auto run, sort them lexically, and then run each one of those bundles. And so what's happening here is since one of those bundles, this Git server, is failing, it's showing that this auto run promise is failing.
Mm-hmm. And here you can see the promise that failed is the specific passwords.git. And real quick, I think what I'll do next is I will make them do the promise part. Let's save that. Promise for reals. There we go. Sorry, I spelled it with a Z. Seemed appropriate. And wait for it to push, and then refresh. Get there. There we go. Okay. And then wait a moment. Just to make this a little more personal, like I'm a musician. I've been in bands for a long time. I'm working on a theme song for this Agent is in. It's kind of metal, sort of. I like lots of different kinds of music, but so maybe next time we'll have a bumper tag kind of theme song. It's not been approved by the stylistic committee just yet, but I'm working on it.
It's pretty good.
This reminds me of okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, yeah. So the interesting thing here is, okay, so there's no not kept promises, but I bet you there might be a repaired.
Yeah.
There's several actually, and not really the one I was expecting. But services auto run Git server does have the repaired for passwords.git. And there you go. That's essentially the blog post. Promise is the last step. Yeah. And I mentioned down here, you can download the Vagrant environment enterprise free for up to 25 hosts and just play around with things. That's what I do pretty much every day. I actually install like master. So I install the latest on dog fooding, everything every day. And I check in on things and make sure things look good. Make sure there's no red numbers anywhere, just like on your phone, I guess.
So, are there any things that you would like to improve here?
Yeah. Yeah, there's well, for one thing, I can't actually refresh exactly. So I have to like go back to this thing. But the really cool thing that I'd like to see is, and I don't know, I mean, it's kind of cool. Like it would be to edit files here. That'd be kind of amazing. I switched to VS Code for this because it looks kind of nice. And I typically actually use Ed, the editor written in 1969, a couple months before I was born. I just aged myself. But yeah, so it would be pretty cool to be able to see a problem in here, edit it, get, maybe use CF promises to validate it syntactically here. Yeah, I've definitely been trying to use Policy Analyzer as much as I can and try to figure out things. It would be really cool too from here to be able to say, run this one bundle on this one host, because down here in the table you saw that it was on this one host that it was not kept. So run it, and maybe even run it in debug mode or verbose mode, so you get all the information back.
Cool.
So lots of cool things we could do.
All right. Well, if anybody else has any thoughts or suggestions, I think we'd appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any new questions. Cody?
No, I was just going to add that we are recording this session and we will make it available either via YouTube or some other format. So yeah, if you ever want to rewatch this one, or maybe you can't make a meeting in the future, we'll publish those for everybody.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks everybody for joining.